is Amber Heard paying for all of this? How is she paying for the appeal? How did she pay for her case? And to do that, we need to explore the insurance cases. So if you have heard about the insurance cases and are wondering what's going on, the reason I say cases is because there are two, and we need to explore them now.
Oh no, Amber has bitten way more than she can chew by causing more catastrophe. The actress has been exposed for intentionally causing a drift between her insurers, and fans are beginning to conclude that Amber is walking on the sharp edge of the knife. Keep watching to know more. Ever since Amber has decided to appeal the $10 million she has been ordered to pay Johnny Depp, more lawsuits have sprouted up against her. Yes, the Aquaman actress faces yet another courtroom drama over who's on the hook for her astronomical legal bills. At the center of the $15 million dispute is a secret power struggle among some of the country's most elite lawyers over who actually represented her. Anyway, everyone already knows how Depp sued Heard in 2019, 2 years after their marriage ended, over a Washington Post op-ed in which she identified herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. Well, you probably should know that it took 3 years for this case to get to trial, and in that time, Heard switched her legal team and PR team multiple times. At first, the defense was led by Eric George, a well-connected Los Angeles-based litigator who is quite adept at handling celebrity complications, but ended up not being quite a perfect match. Then came Roberta Kaplan, who had successfully fought for same-sex marriage at the Supreme Court and co-founded the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. Her involvement suggested Heard's legal defense might become a pro-feminist cause, but after a few procedural pretrial losses, she was out too. Finally, her defense rested with Elaine Bredihoft, who has a decent reputation locally but came to the big trial with a questionable strategy and seemed overwhelmed by basic tasks like leading direct examination without getting interrupted every 3 seconds by Depp's famous attorney Camille Vasquez. Of course, there was more to the story behind all those pretrial shakeups, which may soon become public thanks to a secondary legal drama between two insurance companies that have been secretly fighting over Heard's sizable legal bill. After all, many forms of homeowners insurance will cover certain legal expenses, but only up to a certain point. And Heard's expenses were truly astronomical, surpassing $8 million before the 6-week trial even began. Heard has since brought on 2 more top lawyers, David L. Axelrod and J. Ward Brown of Ballard Spahr, to handle her appeal. This could easily become a $15 million bill of horrors when all is said and done, potentially dwarfing the $10 million or so that Heard has already been ordered to fork over to Depp. So who's paying? Well, that's the $15 million question. In July 2021, Travelers Commercial Insurance Company sued New York Marine General Insurance Company and demanded reimbursement for half of what it had paid to defend a mutual client. Heard wasn't identified as the insured in these court papers, which largely explains why this dispute has stayed under the radar until now. Travelers had issued a homeowner's policy to Heard, while New York Marine had issued a commercial general liability policy. Both covered personal injury, including libel. Even though the policy limits are modest, the key is that these insurers have a duty to defend Heard, which means they'll also pick up additional costs for defense lawyers. Travelers believed that Heard had a right to choose her own lawyers and agreed to pay $290 per hour for partner work, but New York Marine clearly didn't. Instead, New York Marine sent its own set of lawyers to Heard's side and believed its obligations satisfied. A judge initially agreed. Soon, however, the dispute between the two insurers entered into more explosive territory. Travelers doubted whether New York Marine's appointed lawyers, Timothy McEvoy and Sean Patrick Roch, actually provided an adequate defense or merely piggybacked on the work of Kaplan and Bredihoft. In turn, New York Marine alleged that Travelers had unclean hands because McEvoy and Roch, who expected at one point to act as lead attorneys for Heard, had been frozen out of participating in the case, including strategy discussions and court hearings. The insurer has collected communications as evidence, including an email from Roch in July 2020 stating, "We offered to help along the way, but a kitchen could only handle so many cooks." Kaplan seemed to be operating with the approval of Amber, and a lawyer power struggle did not seem to benefit Amber. Besides, most of the past and present lawyers on Heard's team have been subpoenaed, and more than 100,000 documents have been collected in preparation for a possible trial between the insurers about the adequacy of Heard's representation. All this figures to become a headache for Heard, who recently hired yet another lawyer, Kirkpatrick, to deal with this escalating insurance situation. And that's ironic, if you'd ask me. Not only did the claims specialist at New York Marine once opine to a colleague that a jury verdict favoring Depp was slim to nil, but the insurer had previously relied on Virginia law in insisting it needn't fund Heard's choice of counsel. Apparently, the media noticed this suit, although what reporters didn't realize is that Travelers, not New York Marine, has been funding the bulk of Heard's defense to date. Oh well, let's keep our fingers crossed. A decision is coming soon on whether to consolidate these insurance matters. It's expected among some insiders that Heard will seek a stay while the appeal plays out. In other words, she'll be seeking to minimize this distraction. Nevertheless, there's a reckoning that looms over what's probably one of the most expensive libel cases in American history. Let's see how the fans have reacted to this mess Amber got herself into. A fan wrote, "She was found guilty of willful acts of malice which led to the court case. I don't see how any insurance company are legally liable for that. Every insurance policy I've ever known does not cover willful acts." Another fan added, "A Mary Chase, insurance companies are masterfully represented by tenacious lawyers. None of them want to potentially set a precedent for future litigants, so they'll fight back at angles. Her chance of winning those cases is also highly unlikely." Meanwhile, the bills pile up. There you have it. Amber is clearly not done with legal battles, and it sure appears as though there is more coming her way. Remember, our information is strictly based on opinions and gossip. So, see you in the next video.